Larry, what is the number one predictor of success from your point of view?
Well, it's not actually from my point of view, but according to Gallup, the number one criteria for career success is based on the quality of one's relationships, which is quite interesting since they don't really teach it in high school. They don't normally teach it in college or at university. And in most workforces, they don't teach it. So at the end of the day, some of the most successful people in the world have some of the greatest relationships. So that's really the number one criteria for career success.
Timely. A very timely interview, by the way, because as you know, connections are the meat of everything going on in business today. Tell us a little bit about your backstory, how you created the system that you have today for being able to connect with anybody in the world.
Well, in the mid-1990s, I used to be in the technology industry, but before I was in the technology industry, I was in the financial services industry. And at that moment in time, I realized I didn't really have the kinds of relationships that I needed. And it was very challenging to get into the technology industry. And I vowed I'll never put myself in that situation again. And one of the things I noticed when I was just in sales at the time, I had more access to CEOs and senior level executives than my peers. Fast forward a decade later, I started a networking invitation-only group called SANG, the Speaker and Authors Networking Group, which you've been a part of, and Tony Robbins, and we've had the good fortune of having people like Tony Hsieh of Zappos to Jack Canfield, Amari Smith, Guy Kawasaki, and many others. And one of the things I'm most proud of, we've never paid literally to have any speaker ever attend our event. And the number one reason they've all come, the main reason that we've been able to provide value for them. Peter Guber, who owns part of the Los Angeles Dodgers and Golden State Warriors, he flew 30 hours on private jet just to speak at the last 30 minutes of one of our conferences. But the reason is we were going to help him when his book came out, and we did, and we helped him become a New York Times bestseller. But it would not have happened unless you've got really powerful relationships to add value and serve other people.
What's the magic formula for connecting with people?
Sure. Good question. First of all, you want to find out, you want to make a personal connection. You want to have some rapport with whoever you're dealing with. The other thing is you want to really find out what's most important to someone else. If you can find out what's most important to them, then you can go about adding value for them based on what's important to them, either business or what's important to them personally. And then you want to be able to do a good job of staying in touch over a long period of time. It's not good enough anymore just to add value one time. You got to do it over and over, and you got to be able to stay in touch with someone. So if and when you need something, they remember, and there's some of that relationship currency or connection currency, as I like to call it.
To the viewers of our Lifestyle Entrepreneur magazine, some of them might be saying right now, I'm really shy, timid. What would you say? What would you say to those people?
Well, first of all, I'm shy and I'm pretty introverted, actually. So whether you reach out to someone via email, whether you reach out to someone on social media via Twitter or via Facebook, whether you reach out and use your iPhone to send someone a video message on their birthday or send them a video message, there's a lot of ways that a shy and introverted person can interact. I find one of the things that shy and introverted people probably do better than extroverts is they do a much better job of listening. And if you listen, you'll pick up clues on what's important to someone else, therefore making it easier for you to add value to someone else as well.
You use a term called connection currency. What do you mean by that?
So connection currency or relationship capital or however someone wants to coin it, it's really about things that I might be able to do that might add either business value or personal value. Just to give you 3 quick examples of quote-unquote connection currency, I was recently at a conference. I saw a very well-known marketer. Everyone else was pitching him on doing a joint venture. I asked him how he was doing, how his kids were doing. He mentioned he was going through divorce. I said, with your permission, can I introduce you to a friend of mine that runs a divorced dads network? So at that moment in time, I created some connection currency with him based on something that was important to him. If you're dealing with if you're dealing with an author and they have a book coming out, one way of creating connection currency is promoting them on social media, promoting their book in your newsletter, doing an interview like we're doing to share with your tribe. So that's another way of adding connection currency.
You have another concept that you refer to as trigger event in terms of building profitable relationships. Talk to us about that.
Well, a trigger event, there could be either personal trigger events. So personal trigger events might be a birthday, an anniversary, someone's graduating college, something important's going on in their world on a personal note. From a business standpoint, a trigger event could be you're dealing with a publicly traded company and they have some kind of quarterly report, or maybe Glenn wins Entrepreneur of the Year, so he's honored and he's recognized. And so how can you reach out and leverage a trigger event to reach out and touch someone in a meaningful way? I was talking with one of my clients the other day, and they're a big ad agency, one of the largest in the country for direct response. And he was saying he's having trouble getting to the CEO of this one publicly traded company. And based on some research, we found out they didn't have such a good quarter. And I said, hey, why don't you introduce them to one of your other clients that is a female CEO that also runs a publicly traded company? So leveraging a trigger event to reach out and try to add some value along the way. So again, trigger events happen all the time. This past weekend was a college graduation for a lot of people. So if someone in your network's got kids in college, it's probably a good idea to reach out to them to congratulate them around that. Again, leveraging trigger events, opportunities, they're all around us. And then it's just a question of thinking about you and your network in a way where you could touch them and add value to.
So since you mentioned network, what would you say is the first step in building a network like you have?
Well, first of all, you're going to build a network by building one relationship at a time. You want to find out what's most important to somebody. And again, if you can find out what's most important to someone, then you can go really add value to them in a systematic way. And then you want to get real good. You're fantastic at it. You're probably one of the best I've ever seen at the art of following up. If you don't have a good follow-up system, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many, you're going to have a very difficult time of building a network. So I would strongly encourage people that whether have a newsletter or other tools in place that allows them to stay in touch. Because like I said, even if you're able to add value for someone today, if you forget and stay out of touch for a long period of time, there's probably not going to be much of a relationship there. So those are just some couple tips.
Outside of following up, then, what would you say would be the biggest mistake that business owners, entrepreneurs make today in building profitable relationships?
Yeah, the biggest mistake for sure, I would say, is too big an ask. I talk to a lot of very influential, well-known thought leaders, authors, speakers, people like Jack Canfield or Guy Kawasaki and others. I said, hey, what's the biggest request that you tend to get? And they're like, well, a lot of times we'll just get off the stage, someone doesn't even know us, and they'll ask for us to do a forward for their book. Well, that's a big ask for someone you don't even know. I've met Richard Branson. I've stayed in touch with him for a number of years, and people that don't even know me that well say, hey, can you introduce me to Richard Branson? I'm like, for what purpose? So to ask him to write the forward for the book, that's not a really good request. So that's the biggest mistake that I see. Make sure you have some relationship currency, some connection currency in that proverbial bank account before you ask for a big favor.
What do you mean by not all relationships are created equally?
Well, a lot of people, they just go networking, and, I do believe you should treat everyone with respect, with dignity. You should try to do your best to add value, but not all relationships are created equal. Some people, just because of who they are, they're more influential than others. Maybe they run a big company. Maybe they have a very large network. Maybe they run a large association. Maybe they have a big list. Whatever it is, some people just carry more influence. So at the end of the day, you should figure out who are some of the key influencers that are in your industry that can make a big difference in your world, for your business, for your charity, for your cause, for whatever it is that you stand for. Figure out who those people are and invest into those relationships, because like I said, not all relationships are created equal.
What do you think is from your standpoint, the key variable in creating a successful joint venture with somebody else?
Well, I would say a successful joint venture is two things. It's, if you and I are working on a joint venture, is it a two-way? Am I able to help add value? Can I help you with your goals, with your needs? And then B, can you reciprocate back? And sometimes it's, maybe I add advice. Maybe someone, throws in money. Maybe someone has an internet marketing list that they can mail to. It really just depends. But to me, it's going to be a two-way reciprocity. There's give and there's take. You give and you also get. So to me, that's the perfect joint venture. It's a win-win relationship.
Yeah, great. What would you recommend as the next step for the viewers of Lifestyle Entrepreneur Magazine right now? The next critical step for them?
I'd say the easiest thing, the next step they should do is over the next 30 days, just take a few minutes every single day to reach out to people in your network and just find out, not trying to sell them anything, no agenda. Find out what is going on in their world. What's important to them personally? What are they most excited about? What do they do for fun when they're not working? What's the most important project that they're currently working on in case you or your network can help them? And if you were to do that just a few people a day over a course of about a month, that's almost 100 people in your network. And you'll find out all sorts of interesting things on the ability of connecting people. I literally just got off the phone with, someone who I've known for a very long time, Randy Garn, used to run Prosper Corporation. I just found out he sold his company. He's now part of a new entrepreneurial venture capital startup. And he was telling me about one of his portfolio companies. And I'm like, great, I'll be more than happy to introduce you to someone that I know that has a need for that new product and service. But had I not asked the question, I would have never known, and there'll be some value created both ways. So again, that's what I would encourage people to do.
Larry, you're an amazing connector. You got a great system. Congratulations and thank you.